August 8. 70. Capture of Jerusalem by Titus, the 8th day of the month Gorpius, Elul upon his daughter's birthday. 1419. Peter d'Ailly, a French ecclesiastic, died. He was of an obscure family, and rose by his merit to the office of cardinal. 1503. Alexander VI Roderick Borgia, Pope, died. He was of infamous notoriety before his elevation to the pontificate, and is supposed to have been poisoned by a draught which he had prepared for some of his guests. 1540. Nuptials of Henry VIII and Catherine Howard, his fifth spouse. By a notable appearance of honor, cleanness and maidenly behavior, she won the heart of old Harry, whose marriage with Anne of Cleves was annulled the 9th of July previous. 1588. Edwin Sandys, Archbishop of York, died. He assisted in the translation of what is called the Bishop's Bible, and was one of the 9 divines appointed by Elizabeth to dispute with 9 Catholics before the Parliament. 1588. The English fleet under Lord Howard attacked the Spanish Armada. The engagement began at 4 o'clock in the morning and continued till 6 at night, and resulted in a total defeat of the Armada. The Spanish admiral, apprehending the entire destruction of his fleet, resolved to sail northwards and make the circuit of the British Isles. When he had rounded the Orkneys, the fleet was dispersed by a storm. Horses, mules and baggage were thrown overboard to lighten the ships, some of which were wrecked, some sunk in the North Sea, others wrecked on the coast of Scotland, and more than 30 were driven by another storm upon the coast of Ireland, where many of the crews were barbarously murdered. The Duke of Medina finally reached Santerdu with 65 sail in a shattered condition, out of 150 sail of noble vessels which entered the British Channel, many of them of the largest class. 1641. Though Sabbath, both houses of the English Parliament sat to prevent the king from going to Scotland. 1776. Force of the Northern American Army, under Washington, 10,514 fit for duty, 3,668 sick, 2,946 on command, 97 on furlough, total, 17,225. Committing great ravages at this time, 5,500 having died of it since April. Inoculation being prohibited in general orders. 1778. Fort Boonesborough invested by 450 Canadians and Indians. The fort was garrisoned by 50 men, who defended it with great spirit against every stratagem till the 20th, when the siege was abandoned, and its capture never again attempted. 1780. The combined fleets of France and Spain captured 5 East Indiamen and 50 merchant ships bound for the West Indies. 1792. John Leake, an English physician, died. Founder of the Westminster Lying-in Hospital, and an esteemed author. 1794. The entrenchments of Pellingen, a series of redoubts raised by the Austrians in the most advantageous situations, in order to cover Treves, were carried by the French. 1804. Robert Macfarlane, a Scottish miscellaneous writer, died. He translated Ossian into Latin. 1805. Richard Worsley, governor of the Isle of Wight, died. During a tour in Europe he made a fine collection of statues and antiques, of which he published a description. 1808. John Broome, lieutenant governor of the state of New York, died, and was buried in the Presbyterian churchyard in Wall Street, in the city of New York. 1811. British Under Admiral Stafford took Batavia and a great part of the island of Java. 1812. The United States troops under General Hull evacuated Canada and entered Detroit. 1814. First meeting of the British and American commissioners at Ghent, to treat for peace. 1816. The meetings of Freemasons and other secret societies prohibited by the King of Naples under penalty of banishment, fine and imprisonment. 1827. George Canning, an eminent English statesman, died. He was of humble origin, but rose to the premiership by his great talents, and sustained himself against a powerful opposition. 1828. Friedrich Buderwöck, a German literateur, died, author of Geschichte neueren Poesie und Beredsamkeit, containing separate critical histories of the belles letters of Italy, Spain, Portugal, France, England and Germany, from the revival of letters to the close of the 18th century, 12 volumes. 1836. Friedrich Karl Ludwig Sickler died at Hildburghausen, an eminent archaeologist, and author of various learned works on archaeology, antiquities and philology. 1838. The Chilean squadron of 32 vessels landed 5,000 men at Ancon, and demanded $2 million, which not being granted, they advanced and took Callao and Lima. After an action in which 2,000 were killed, Gomara was proclaimed president, and Orbegozo fled to the mountains. See July 26. 1840. Charles Ottfried Müller, of Göttingen, died at Athens, from an illness brought on by fatigue and exposure in copying inscriptions, and making excavations at Delphi. The object of his investigation was connected with a great work on which he was engaged, upon the general history of Greece. He was buried on the summit of a little hill above the Academy. July 31. 1851. Samuel Emerson, an eminent physician, died at Kennebunk, Maine, age 87. 1853. A strike at Stockport, England, for an advance of 10% in wages, ceased. 20,000 workmen resumed their labors, having accomplished their object. 1856. Mrs. Matthews Madame Vestris, long a celebrated dancer and pantomimist, died in England, aged 59. Her maiden name was Lucia Elizabeth Bartolozzi. She married Armand Vestris in 1813, and it was under this name that she was well known in Europe and America. She married Matthews in 1838.